Scooby-Doo and the Boo Brothers. Now, Scooby-Doo and the Boo Brothers is one of the many TV movies that Scooby-Doo has done, and in fact, it was the first. It followed Shaggy, Scoob and Scrappy going to an estate which Shaggy's uncle left to him following his death. And the fact that this movie shares the same opening plot as Shaggy and Scooby-Doo Get a Clue sickens me. So, without further ado, fucking hell, it was worse when I said it. It was bad when I wrote it down, but it was worse when I said it. Without further ado, let's talk about my favourite Scooby-Doo movie ever made. And just before the video starts, I'd just like to say, YouTube statistics say that 19% of you have the bell notification turned on. And can we change that, please? I'm begging you. The movie starts out with a surprisingly smart opening. It shows Shaggy and Scooby discovering the letter that Shaggy's uncle has passed and is leaving the estate all to him, whilst a ghost slash witch is terrifying them. The narrator then also tells us about the Boo Brothers, and no matter how many things she scares, she will always be terrified of them, which I'll explain a bit later. This song slash rhyme is a good placeholder for the normal Scooby-Doo opening we all know and love, and it's infinitely better than the... It then shows Shaggy, Scoob and Scrappy making their way to the estate and end up making what seems to be a wrong turn and gets lost. And this one line, it's not supposed to be funny, but I just love it.
Here I am. Why can't you get under there?
He just sounds like a slightly fed up and concerned parent. It's just amazing. So they keep driving on. Scoob thinks he sees a monster and they end up getting stuck. It's then revealed it was a monster and Scooby, out of sheer fear, pushes the car to safety. They also get pulled over by the sheriff, who must have either the worst or best southern accent I've ever heard.
Proceeding down the highway in a wantonly reckless and irresponsible manner.
He's just incredible. Throughout the whole movie, he's just incredible. He's like a Family Guy character. And I think what just tops it all off is that his IMDb photo looks exactly like... Oh, wrong. His IMDb photo looks exactly like him. Another thing I also love is how they forget to put Scooby's teeth chattering sound effect in. So then, in a space of less than a minute, we see not one, not two, but 3 separate monsters the gang gets attacked by. This seems to be a trend throughout the movie, as I swear you see about 10. And I know, I know that if I didn't like this movie, I'd be having a go at it. But I just love all the little tiny mistakes this movie makes. Like when the movie cuts for an ad break and comes back and the entire scene is for some reason 10 times brighter, and Farquaad having a slightly different design, and Scooby being scared in one scene then defaulting to his normal position the next, smiles and all. So this little gremlin is Farquaad, and he was manservant to the Colonel and reveals to Shaggy and Scoob and Scrappy that there is a secret fortune somewhere on the estate. He obviously holds a grudge against Shaggy as well because Shaggy got it instead of him. The sheriff makes another appearance to tell Farquaad about an escaped ape, the one we saw previously. Farquaad then says the ape must be a ghost and explains that the Colonel once shot and stuffed an ape and it's always haunted the grounds ever since. And I'm sorry, movie, I love you, but that doesn't make any sense. The sheriff is clearly talking about an escaped ape from the circus, not a random stuffed ape. It just doesn't make sense why you bring this up. Like, they're not connected. Oh well. I'm sorry, movie, I love you. Have I also mentioned how funny this movie is? Like, it's weird. Scooby-Doo with its comedy hasn't always been, like, the best. But this movie is really fucking funny. My personal favourite so far is the ape being's just as surprised as everyone else that they're a ghost.
But you can't capture it, Sheriff. You see, it's a ghost.
A ghost?
A ghost!
And also this line by the sheriff.
He can't raise his hands, Sheriff. He's stuffed.
I don't care how much he eats. He ain't gonna defy an officer of the law.
But yeah, this film's comedy at the moment has been really good. The slapstick has been on point, and the facial expressions for an 80s cartoon, they're really fluid and fun, all things considered. Scrappy ends up finding the ring that Farquaad drops and realises the treasure has to be real. Shaggy's car ends up sinking in the mud, so they have no choice but to stay in the house for the night. And to be fair, for a show about monsters, Scooby-Doo is very rarely ever scary. But for some reason, and I can't quite explain it, this scene always used to get under my skin as a kid.
Mike,
I didn't see that. I didn't see that either.
The music, the pose Shaggy pulls here, the hand reaching down and scratching Scoob, it's all ever just slightly unnerving.
Leave this place! Leave this place!
Way to break the fucking tension! Oh my god! That's amazing! What the fuck? Whoever's idea was it to have the main villain riding on a penny farthing deserve. I hope they're doing well in life, man. I hope they're having an amazing life. So finally, Shaggy and the gang have had enough of the ghosts and decide to call the Boo Brothers ghosts who are ghosts exterminators. So they're technically hitmen. Like, let's be straight up about it. Also, one of them is voiced by Rob Paulsen. Yes, that Rob Paulsen. It's so weird how much of a massive person in the voice acting world played Shrieco in Scooby-Doo. And especially because the other Boo Brothers weren't big at all. One of them did a movie called Cats from Out of Space. And the other was the guy from Aladdin who goes, "You idiots, we've all got swords." So very extensive careers. We're then introduced to a new character, Sadie Scroggins. I had such a fucking crush on her as a child. I also think she unlocked something deep in me as a child because I'm picking Anne as a love interest in Persona 5 every fucking time. I also think you can guess who my favourite member of the Hex Girls are. Yeah, fuck you, Sadie, man, for doing this to me. She also acts as Shaggy's love interest throughout the film and he constantly deflects any advances made on him by her. And I've just got to say, Shaggy, mate, you're a brave, strong-willed man. I salute you, sir. We then get to meet Sadie's brother, and if you think the sheriff was a bad representation of the South, oh, just you wait.
Damn gummit! Why'd you have to go and take that mail order muscle course?
What are you even saying? I don't understand. So after finding another jewel in the fridge, Shaggy starts to believe in the family jewels. So they find the next clue and read it. And like a fucking dumbass, Shaggy just decides to shout it for the whole house to hear.
Place? Go outside. Then look for the part of the house with its knee out.
Gee, I sure hope no one is listening to me reading this clue. Like, Farquaad is still roaming the house and it's clear he wants the jewels. Just fucking shut up, Shaggy. So they figure out the clue means to go to the chimney, so they head there and are confronted by a skeleton. And I remember this part specifically, for this is the weirdest fucking reason. I remember this part specifically because I like the bone sound effects. Like, every time the skeleton moves, he makes a bone sound effect, and I always used to find it really satisfying. I was a weird child. And it pains me to say this, and I haven't mentioned it up until now, but the Boo Brothers up until this point have been kind of annoying. Like, not unbearable, but let's just say they have yet to tell a joke I have even, you know, like at. I've never at one of their jokes yet.
You're a ghost! How can you pull us up?
Oh, details! Just let go, will yas?
Well, okay.
Okay, you know what? I'm sorry I said anything. That was good. That was good. I like that. So more slapstick happens with Billy Bob, and Shaggy and the gang read the next clue. And another thing I'd like to say about the Boo Brothers is that a lot of their jokes could work throughout this film, but they're so drawn out and so long. Again, this feels like Family Guy. Like, take for instance this joke.
That ain't nothing to the scary face I can do. Watch this. I can't stand that horrible face. I ain't doing it yet. That's the way my face always looks. I know.
That's the joke edited and how it should have been delivered. This is how long it actually goes on for. By the time they've got to the punchline, I've forgotten how the joke started. So they figure out the grandfather clock is the next location. So they go there and Scrappy ends up getting mugged by Farquaad for the diamond. And this is where the movie shoots itself in the foot a little bit. You see, up until this point, we have no idea who the villain could be. And the movie cleverly sets up the beginning that Farquaad could be the main villain. Because he's got a big grudge against Shaggy. But by revealing Farquaad to be there, we now know that the mysterious guy who's been following Shaggy and the gang around isn't him. So it's got to be someone else. It almost feels like they intentionally did it to make you feel like Farquaad wasn't the villain, because this scene is so pointless, you could take out the film and nothing would change. But the gang head up to the attic for the next clue and end up being attacked by another monster and eventually find the next clue. They get attacked by the penny farthing guy again, who will forever and ever never scare me again. Imagine if Mike Myers appeared on a fucking penny farthing. Another big animation mistake that I noticed is that they accidentally switched the Boo Brothers lines up.
Quick, guys, over here! And watch that first step. Catch!
Like, come on, movie. I love ya, but I can't keep defending you like this. That's a bad mistake. Whilst exploring the cellar, they find the next clue, and I'm met face to face with a cannon, and just look at Scrappy's reaction to it. It's amazing. They escape the cellar and head to the graveyard, where the sheriff turns up to be the source of comedy gold that he is.
Now you're cease and desist that there cheating, Billy Bob. Oh, now you're in big trouble, boy. You just violated the vehicular code.
Like, I never remember him being this funny. Like, they get the slapstick with him amazingly as well. I love him. He's my favourite character.
Billy Bob, I'm a fire in the warning shot. That's it, Billy Bob. We're knocked down three. I'm a shoot. 1, 2.
So after finding the next clue in the graveyard, they end up falling into a trapdoor. And first of all, what the fuck is happening to the skeleton that he's now just consumed by divine light? And also, why is he a completely new art style to the original skeleton? Now it's clearly a costume. You can see the outlines. They escape and realise the next clue is in the stable, so they plan to head there next. And then the weirdest thing happens. They go outside, the floorboards start moving, all the Boo Brothers scream and then leave? And it's never explained or mentioned again why they do this. It's just an excuse for them to not be in the next scene. The gang doesn't even seem fazed by it at all. They just go on as normal, as if nothing happened. Also, aren't you lot the fucking Boo Brothers? The ones who catch ghosts? Why are you now scared of them? So they get to the barn where Shaggy meets Sadie again and she starts kissing him, which Shaggy apparently hates for some reason.
Up here, sweetie pie! Get me down, honey pie, and I'll give you another big kiss!
Like, no thanks.
Shaggy, what the fuck is wrong with you? The sheriff also starts acting suspicious as he ends up letting slip that he knows how to turn off the mechanical horse, the same horse that the headless rider is seen riding on earlier. They then drop down the well where the next clue is. They end up finding and following a tunnel out of the well. Yeah, I know this is the Cliff Notes version, but there's a lot of padding in this film, so just bear with me. They have another run-in with the Colonel's ghost, and if they didn't make him stupid enough with a penny farthing, they now have him calling them boobs, as if he's in year 3.
You can't escape. I'm springing the booby traps, you boobs.
And then, if that wasn't ridiculous enough, he pulls a Dio and whips out a fucking road roller? How did you get that? Only in this show, man. Only in this show. I love it so much. So they narrowly escape the time-stopping freak and find out that the Boo Brothers have had a party instead of catching any ghost. Shaggy is of course mad at them and calls them out on this. He also calls them nerds, which...
That goes for you nerds too. Like, hit the road.
Strange choice of words, but we'll go with it. And then the Boo Brothers give them a soppy story about them being orphans, to which Shaggy forgives them and they come back instantly. Like, I'm talking instantly. There's no sound effect or anything. They just appear on screen. Something else I should mention too is that I must have cut out at least 5 different chase scenes in this film that just happen sporadically. Sometimes they're with Billy Bob, other times they're with the Colonel, and other times they're just with the big gorilla guy who's stuck around since the start of the movie. These sections are basically all the same and they don't really add anything. I mean, I guess the Billy Bob sections, they try and make it seem a bit more like a Roadrunner cartoon, but it's still pointless.
Maybe a great big pizza. Yeah, pizza with lots of hot oozy cheese.
That doesn't look like cheese. That's not... I wouldn't be eating that pizza, Shaggy, if I were you. They get to the cave where the final clue is hidden, and Shaggy ends up almost dying, but with the power of unfinished animation, he just flies off the rock. Like, I'm assuming they were supposed to animate like Scooby dragging him, but instead he just flies away ass first. They end up escaping the cave with the car as it was being remote controlled by the villain and get back to the house where Shaggy is confronted by the big ape, and Scooby just looks utterly embarrassed that he's mates with him. Like, look at that judgmental look on his face. Oh my god. Okay, the final clue tells them to go to the boathouse where they're told the treasure is in the fireplace. The villain overhears them, traps them, and then runs off for the treasure. In the most unthreatening way possible. The Boo Brothers save them and get to the fireplace where they come face to face with the villain. He ends up being crushed by all the treasure and the gang unmask him to be the best character in the movie, aka the sheriff, who it turns out was impersonating his twin brother, who was a real sheriff in order to get the treasure. So the day is saved, Shaggy and the gang give the house to the Boo Brothers even though they did absolutely nothing, and they donate all the treasure to a charity that helps orphans. How sweet. So that was Scooby-Doo and the Boo Brothers. That was a lot. Not only was this my favourite Scooby-Doo movie when I was younger, this was probably my favourite movie ever when I was younger. And I enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I would. For different reasons. The saddest part for me was just the fact that the Boo Brothers just weren't as funny or even as memorable as I remember. There were just whole chunks of this movie without them in it, and they do so little throughout the movie. You could take them out and I feel like very little would change. The jokes they can tell are alright at best and really annoying at worst. And overall, I'm just sad to say they're the weakest parts of the film. The most surprising thing to me was every other character. Farquaad, Sadie, Billy Bob, and especially the sheriff were 10 times better than I remember. And of course the main gang are fine, just as I remember them. Overall, I'd say this movie still holds up and I hope you watch it. I've been Caslo, I hope you had a great day. Bye bye.